So my very last question is about electing prosecutors,
Okay.
which is slightly different.
Yes.
So would you explain us how that works?
So in the United States, we do elect our prosecutors, certainly at the local and state level. The chief prosecutor at the federal level is an appointee of the president. So there's indirect, you could say, election. Once you elect a president, the president installs a team of political appointees throughout the executive branch, and including those who wield prosecutorial authority. But at the local level, right here in Syracuse is no exception. We elect our district attorneys who have offices of prosecutors. Now, the people that they hire, many of them may be employees who don't serve at the pleasure of the person who's elected, but the leadership is determined by the people through election. And in our system, our prosecutors have an enormous amount of power. They get to make the decision about whether to charge a case, right? Do you get charged in the first place, right? Are they seeking to indict you? Not only do they make the decision about whether to charge, they make the decision about what to charge someone with. And our law, like your law, is complex, and there are many different possible offenses that carry with them a wide range of punishments, fees, fines, and the prosecutor can either make it easy on a person or very hard on a person by choosing to go forward with an indictment and what they choose to charge the defendant with. That prosecutorial authority in the United States, again, great power, is hopefully checked and constrained by regular elections. And, you know, I mean, that's the basic idea of the system, right? With great power comes great responsibility. And
Like Spider-Man said.
exactly. Much like Spider-Man, right? So, you know, when the system works, it works well, right? Because we need someone to be making these choices. They're often making choices for a large number of people, large number of individual cases. Another alternative might be to take prosecutors and send them to a prosecutor's school, give them lots of training and treat them as civil servants and trust that they're sticking with the detailed code that dictates how they should proceed, when they should charge, what they should charge. But we have an alternative system, which is lots of flexibility. That is, at the end of every fixed term, the voters get a chance to have their say. People in the United States can be critical of this system because they say, look, the people who are subject to prosecutorial discretion, the people who have to worry about, am I going to get charged? What am I getting charged with? Are not the people who are represented in the vote. This is the criticism. It actually goes back to one of my earlier comments about inequality, right? If you have tremendous inequality, you start to question the degree to which the people, through their vote, express a common interest. Remember our friend Jackson? That was the idea, right? That the people have a common interest. Our friend Jefferson had the same idea. But if we are a highly inegalitarian society, right? And if we believe, as is true, that people who have more education and make more money turn out and vote at much higher rates than people who have less education and make less money, then the vote really represents the views of one part of the electorate. If you think that part of the electorate is not also kind of concerned about and speaking for the interests of those who are not turning out to vote, then that can be problematic. It can be doubly problematic if the person you're voting for is a prosecutor who exercises his or her authority over the people who aren't turning out for the election. And so there's a concern whether those sorts of elections offer sufficient oversight for the exercise of prosecutorial power. Maybe there should be some kind of citizen board, not just for the prosecutor, also for the police, that can, on a more continuous basis, provide oversight, and a board that is representative of all different parts of the community. So this is the kind of worry that if you have great power in the hands of the prosecutor, but the check through elections is not representing the interests of all the people, well, then you're sending the prosecutor a certain set of messages, which may not be particularly fair to the people that the prosecutor deals with, for the most part, on a daily basis.
But those people who don't vote do have the right to, right?
They sure do. And so this is one of the things, right? When you see low turnout, then it raises this question, okay, is that a problem, right? If I have a right to vote, but I am too busy, or there's something good on TV that night and I don't want to go out and vote, well, I guess what I'm really saying by my not voting is I'm happy with how things are, and I'm happy with the directions they're going. So that's one view, is that low turnout is simply a result of freedom. And what's more American than that, right? But, voting in the United States is not so easy. It's difficult to register to vote. You have to jump through a lot of different hoops. We hold our elections during the workday in the middle of the week. We don't have elections, as many countries do, on a weekend or on a national holiday. In some countries, you're required to vote. That's not true in the United States. And both political parties, depending on the part of the country and depending on the election, their interest is in not having everybody vote, right? If I'm running for office as a Democrat, I would love to have the Republican voter stay home, right?
Of course.
That would be my idea of a good election. But of course, if I'm running as a Republican, it's exactly the opposite, right? So we have a system of voter registration that reflects, to an important degree, the interest the parties have in keeping people at home and not in the voting booth. So, when we see low turnout in the United States, you can certainly say, well, that's just freedom of choice. But you can also worry whether the system is being gerrymandered, as I mentioned before. Gerrymandering, the idea that you're structuring the rules of the election, and gerrymandering, it's the way you draw the boundaries of the geographic district, or here the way in which you construct the rules of voter registration, that you're tweaking and designing those rules with a goal in mind, which is not let's serve the public interest, but rather let's make sure that my kind of voter, Democrat or Republican, has an easier time of getting to the polls and voting in my kind of candidate, Democrat or Republican.